and be agile in the way you implement your strategy. Yeah. At the same time, you must never compromise your core purpose and values. It's easy in the short term to take a decision to say, I have to survive, so I'm going to take a price cut on this, or I'm going to take a shortcut, I'm going to cut quality here to preserve my price point. You cut quality here, and if your whole promise to your consumer is a certain quality, then what happens? You start to lose trust. The ultimate objective of everything we do in business is to build trust in your brand, in your company. The day you lose trust, you've lost the customer for life. Right? So be very careful before you change anything that impacts trust. This is things like quality, it's things like how you behave in society. Do you hire slave labor? Do you discriminate against women? Do you go out and pollute the environment? You know, how you behave, all of these makes a difference and affects trust. Be very careful before you change anything that affects purpose, why you exist as a company. It's possible to change it. Companies have evolved their purpose, but it has to be done very, very carefully. Or how you change culture. I myself have been part of a few culture change programs, but it has to be done very carefully and very mindfully. So, moving on, lesson number 8. It's easy to get caught up in the short term, in surviving from today to tomorrow. And most experienced managers will tell you that firefighting is so addictive that the urgent always takes precedence over the important. Always. Okay? You never need, to be successful as a leader, you should never allow that to happen. You should focus on the short term, but you need to have a medium-term plan that brings you back to your long-term strategy and stay on purpose without sacrificing your values. So have a medium-term focus. For those of you who are interested, I have an article on this in the Harvard Business Review and a webinar on the Harvard Business Review on medium term. Just, you can Google it and you'll find it. Lesson number 9. This is going back to the beginning. One of the key responsibilities of a leader is to prepare the organization for change. Okay? Let's absorb this one. It's one of your key responsibilities as a leader to prepare the organization for change. So Nestle talks about this in his own way, and you can read what he says here, which is pretty much the two framing responses we talked about, the threat response and the opportunity response. So the leader's job is to scan the horizon, identify the changes that might be coming, to decide what your response is going to be, communicate it to your organization, execute the change, and then course correct. As Srikanth yesterday was talking about, he says, experiment, do pilots, fail fast, and do to come back and learn and improve really, really fast. This is one of the primary tasks of a leader. And within this, the challenge is in this art of communicate change and execute change. And it is not in defining the strategy that the biggest challenge lies. The biggest challenge lies in how you execute the strategy. Because it's not just the leader who's decided, today we're all going to march that way, but then the whole organization has to march that way. And that brings with it a whole number of challenges. How do we motivate the organization? How do I communicate the change to the organization? How do I keep them focused and not keep changing my mind and confuse the hell out of them? So, and in communicating and influencing, it's very important, and a lot of leaders, it's very important to tell people what the change is, what the new strategy is. So what do I need to change? But when you do that, you're only talking to the hands. And a lot of leaders, typically in government, think, I've sent out a new circular, I've told them the what, change what I. And also large companies. I sent an email to everybody, I made one speech. Tomorrow morning, you all have to get up and jump up 5 times. But why? That's not enough. And the why is the second part. You have to tell people, why should I change? You go to YouTube, some very nice videos by Simon Sinek on start with the why. Yeah? It's not enough to tell people the what. You have to tell them why they need to change. And in my experience, that's also not enough, because people will not change until you can reach the heart. Yeah? Do people believe in the change? And the other thing, and I'll tell you how to reach the heart in a minute. The other thing about this communication is you have to repeat and repeat and repeat, because the 51st time you're saying it, you're sick and tired of it, is probably the first time somebody out there is hearing it. Right? So one of the key tasks of the leader, how to win the heart, is he has to be a storyteller. Right? And this is universal human insight, that the only way to touch the heart, and you see it with small children, you can get them to change behaviors. Why should I brush my teeth? Tell them stories, and they start brushing their teeth. Tell them it's good for you. Not much chance, right? And the interesting insight here, from a research point of view, is somehow across the world, the stories have a rational element and an emotional element. The emotional element that we're talking to. The level at which people respond to stories is the emotional level of a 5-year-old. That is the level at which stories resonate. Why? We can speculate about it, we can discuss it, but that seems to be the level. So, typical stories have a structure, like we saw in the storytelling session, excellent storytelling session yesterday with Deepta Vivekanand. And that's, if you haven't listened to her, go listen to her. She really tells you how to tell stories. But typical stories tend to have a very simple emotional framework. There's a hero, normally us. There's a villain, normally the competition. There's a problem that we're facing, and we're going to overcome the problem to beat the villain and achieve a result. Simple framework, whether it's Ram and Ravan, or it's us, we used to be great, and we're going to be great again, and the whole problem is Mexicans and Chinese, so I'm going to give them a great big wall to keep them out. It's so simple, it's so powerful, it's so stupid, it's brilliant. It's beyond brilliant, yeah? Because today's world has so much complexity in the world and society, or in our own companies. There's so much complexity that people are hungry for somebody who can come and give them a simple framework, saying, I know what's going on. Forget all that shit. The problem is just so simple. Just build a wall, we're going to solve it. Yeah, it's so simple. And if your competition can't tell stories, then wow, you won already. So one of the key tasks of the leader is to be a chief storytelling officer. Whether you're a startup who's selling to his investors, you have to be able to tell a story. Like Deepta said, with a certain framework, right? Which includes the struggle content. Whether you're talking to consumers, whether you're talking to employees to motivate them, or your stakeholders to motivate them, you have to be a storyteller. It's a key skill. So practice how? With your 5-year-old. If your 5-year-old can't understand your investor's pitch, start again. Go back to the drawing board. And in this, because it's such a powerful tool, it's very important that you have a moral compass and have your values and character and purpose front and center when you tell stories, because it's very easy to drive societies in directions that are fundamentally long-term, very harmful. And we've seen many examples of that in history. In the Second World War, for instance, how could an entire society be driven in a particular direction? You can just listen to his story. We are the good guys, they are the bad guys. This is how we're going to go and get living space. It's so simple, it's brilliant, but it's the same story. It's the same framework of the story. So use the storytelling skill with a great deal of responsibility. Yeah? Role modeling, because it's not just stories you tell, people are looking at how you behave. If you tell everybody, starting tomorrow morning you do this, but you actually do the wrong thing. If you tell everybody, starting tomorrow morning, hold the handrail before you walk down the stairs, and you never hold the handrail and you just do this, you think people will hold the handrail? No, because they'll watch you. Role modeling is a key communications tool. And the leader's responsibility on top of all of this is ultimately to create a culture, to nurture and create a culture that is able to cope with change. Now, this is a topic on which I can spend 1 hour. I don't have the time, the luxury now, okay? But I invite you to go to YouTube and see an 8-minute video. It's called The Smell of the Place. Check it out. It's a video by the late Professor Shimant Raghusham, who was the founder of the strategy department at London Business School. And he gave this lecture at Davos in the World Economic Forum. And I believe it's absolutely brilliant in the way it captures the role of the leader in creating the context which enables change within a company. The smell of the place. The smell of the place. Jagah ki khushboo. Lesson number 10. Every one of these lessons applies to you as individuals as well, in your life, in your career. You're going to be faced with dramatic change. Your jobs are going to disappear. They'll be replaced by computers, by automation. You might think you're immune, you might think you're in government, you might think you're in a particular place that will never be touched. Well, I have news for you. Good morning, you will be touched. No matter where you are. Okay? Remember Gary Hamel? There's a bullet coming for you. We have all spoken about Uber, and yesterday we saw in Athens, there were huge demonstrations by the taxi drivers protesting against Uber. They blocked roads, they damaged cars, and they said, you know, we're working hard, we're working 12 to 14 hours a day. Yeah? And Uber is taking away our business. And that typically is, what response is it? It is a response to the threat framing, the first of the two framings. So you go back and you say, I'm going to do what I know really well, I'm going to work really very, very hard. But working very hard and outdated business model, will it solve the problem of a new threat, new disruption? It won't. The framework is the same. You need to protect your core business and reduce your costs and husband your resources, how much of your time you devote to your current business model, and you need to devote some resources to the new business model. Well, maybe the solution is become an Uber driver. Be part of that game. I don't know what the solution is. Or start a new game, start a taxi company, whatever the solution is. Every one of these principles we've talked about today are applicable to you as individuals. And the bad news is, well, for me, I'm 60 years old. I'm, in a retired phase of life. I can just come and give yarn to all of you guys. For you guys, most of you guys, you are going to be living these challenges. And you're going to face these challenges within the next 10 years. So one of the most important skills you need to build in yourself as an individual is the learning agility and the ability to cope with change, to embrace change, and to play this threat response and the opportunity response in a balanced way. Does that make sense? So with that, I leave you with this message. Thank you.
Thank you for that. As I mentioned in the opening remarks, Nandu did point out that he was going to be covering these 10 lessons. So we've largely run out of time. He's very happy to interact with you, those of you who are interested, in the coffee break. We can have one silver bullet golden question. So fastest fingers first. One short, pithy question, not comment, please.
Very interesting. So the question is, sir, a lot of the competition these days, even for the small entrepreneurs, comes in from really large companies, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Apples, the big five or the large Chinese companies. So how does one take those folks on?
Jitin, excellent question. You asked the same question yesterday to Srikant. And I'm going to give you the same answer that Srikant. So I listen. I actually sit here and I'm making notes. I'm listening. I'm going to give you the same answer. And the answer is very simply, you can't fight the big guys with money because they will always outspend you. What you can fight them with is focus, is innovation, is delighting the consumer, delighting your customer in a way that they can never do because they're trying to be everything to everybody. right? So you need, within the history of David versus Goliath stories, David normally beats Goliath by focusing on a niche that is too small for Goliath, till Goliath realizes the niche has grown so big that is now challenging Goliath's supremacy. And that's how startups and innovators ultimately build scale. So, and I'm also an angel investor with several startups. And my advice is, listen, don't try to fight these big guys head on with money. You cannot do it. Cannot. They'll always win. Don't play that game. You need to play a different game. What is that game? Now, that is situation specific, but the principle is